Today's webinar is to help those candidates who were unsuccessful in the past to become Activate Fellows, but are interested in reapplying to the program again this year. So if you've applied previously and are looking for ways to strengthen and improve your application, we really hope that today's webinar will be enlightening for you. If you've joined and have never submitted an application before, we will be hosting a general application webinar on September 9th, which is also the same day that our application opens. So you can sign up there at activate.org/events if that one is more relevant to your situation. Great. So first, I want to do a quick introduction. My name is Rick Kempinski. I'm the Director of Fellowship Recruitment here at Activate. I've been in my role for about 3 years now, and my main role is to inspire scientists and engineers to be thinking about entrepreneurship as a career pathway. I'm joined here by Ava Nadell, our Fellowship Recruitment Intern, who will be helping me move the slides and all the logistics, as well as answering any questions that you have. If you are having technical issues, please reach out to her, and she'll be looking at the chat and answering some questions there as well. So Ava, thank you for joining with me on the chat, on the webinar. Great. So here's the agenda for today. I will begin with a general reminder and overview of the Activate Fellowship and the benefits. Next, we're going to discuss our data on reapplications, our feedback policy, and common reasons for maybe a rejected application. Next, we're going to give you some tips on how to best update your application so that you hopefully can strengthen it for the upcoming cycle if you're applying with the same idea. Then we're going to discuss the idea of pivoting with a new idea and how that may be an option for you as well. And finally, you're going to hear from two fellows who successfully reapplied to the program and who will share their experiences and ways that they prepared their application differently in those separate cycles. And then we're going to end with opening up the discussion to answer questions from you all. So you can wait to answer a question. You can either put your question in the chat or wait for it to ask it later in the session. So our goal today is really to prepare you to enhance your Activate application and answer your burning questions about becoming an Activate Fellow. So please make sure to use that chat feature, like I said. Great, so let's get started with a little bit, again, the overview of Activate and some of our benefits. So this is our mission. We empower scientists and engineers to reinvent the world by bringing their research to market.
There you go.
Mute yourself as you join us. I think I just heard some feedback, so just make sure you're muted. We saw a gap in support for early stage entrepreneurial scientists and built this fellowship to meet that need. We created a pathway for scientists whose research was a little bit too applied for basic science, but too early for industry, and they were often left at an impasse. So our fellowship is we created this intentional path that enables scientists and engineers to transform an idea into a product that addresses real and profound societal needs. Great. The Activate Fellowship is the premier program for scientists who are on a mission. We exist to support our fellows, full stop. Our job is to support you in your transformation from scientist to entrepreneur so that you can ensure that your innovation makes an impact on the world. I love this picture. It's from our most recent retreat in June, and it includes staff and our current fellows. But really what it embodies to me is our ability to build community. It's super important to us. You're going to probably hear that a lot from our fellows who are talking today, but this is a great example of what sets Activate apart from other programs out there. To get a little bit more granular, just as a reminder of what we actually offer the fellows and how our program works. Ours is a 2-year fellowship program, so we give you the time and the funding to actually survive, to try to build your company and develop yourself as a leader. You get $100,000 a year for living stipend. You get a travel allowance, you get health insurance reimbursement, and relocation support if you are selected for one of our in-residence communities that you do not live near. In addition, you get $100,000 for the total of the 2 years in research and development funds. That's to be used to develop the technology that you're trying to turn into a product. So obviously the money is super important, but what is really great, which I already mentioned, is the community aspect, right? You have an Activate team as well as a managing director who will be guiding you along the way, helping you set goals and milestones, and making sure that you're reaching them. You're going to be connected to a whole network of scientists and engineers and technologists and entrepreneurs in your ecosystem that you're in. And you'll be having you'll have access to a vibrant nationwide and alumni community who've already been through this process before, who've already learned a lot of things through our program and who are there to help support you. On the right-hand side here, we have other components to the program, which first off is our entrepreneurial education. For the first 16 weeks, we have a whole course for you already designed that is going to give you the basic terminology, help you really build and develop your business acumen side to be successful. After that, you're going to be working with the team to kind of figure out what other additional workshops, what additional training you need and skills you need to develop based on where you are and where your company is. And so that is really great. They really meet you where you are. And then finally, we give you relationships at premier facilities in order that you will be developing your own and protecting your own IP rights. So we have relationships with labs in the areas, the in-residence communities, if you're selected for one of those, and we can help you, if you are chosen for anywhere community, help you find a space that would work for you. Great. And our fellows work across 16 verticals aligned with our broader mission to address global challenges by reinventing our economy to be resilient, sustainable, and equitable. In each of these areas, Activate is assembling a coalition of funders, commercial partners, industry advisors, and technology experts to help guide you. So your project, when you're thinking about this and reapplying, it should really have an impact in one or more of these verticals, and your application should address this clearly through the process. So if you have one beachhead market that you've identified, but want to use the fellowship to explore additional industries, we encourage you to note that in your application. And these are the lovely people you'll be working with. Jill is here on this call, so she can definitely answer some questions later during the Q&A. But we've got 5 amazing managing directors, one for each of our communities, who've been science entrepreneurs themselves, so they understand the journey, they understand what you're going through, they know how to help you, guide you to hit your milestones, build your company, hire a team, all the things that you're going to be needing support with and help with on this journey. In addition, you get a local fellowship team, a fellowship manager and a fellowship associate, also supporting all of our managing directors and working with you to make sure that you've got the programming, the right people connected to you, and any other support you need. We also have an ecosystem and investment team that really works to bring all sectors and all partner types to you. So things like investors, government contacts, all the things, all the folks that are going to really make you successful during the fellowship and beyond. So it's really helpful that we're all working, this whole team is working to help you along the way. And finally, just wanted to reiterate that Activate started in Berkeley, but we've grown to the Northeast and most recently to the South with the addition of our Activate Houston community. These 4 in-residence communities allow fellows to immerse themselves in founder-forward cities with strong ecosystems and resources to thrive. For those who want to make an impact in their local communities and don't want to relocate, we introduced Activate Anywhere in 2021, allowing for a more virtual experience from the comforts of their home with quarterly in-person visits to encourage community. Hi, all. I'm just getting some feedback. Please make sure you're muted. Yeah, perfect. Great. We're having a community webinar starting in September. So please go to our events page if you're interested in learning more about one or more of our communities to help you rank them in your application. This may be a good, idea if as you're reapplying to figure out whether or not the community that you ranked was the right community for you last year. It might be different for this year. So be thinking about that as you reapply for cohort 2026. And finally, just showing our results that we're really proud of. We've supported since 2015, supported almost 300 Activate Fellows who created about 236 science-based companies. They've been able to raise more than $4 billion in follow-on funding, create more than 3,000 new jobs, and about 97% of our fellow companies are still active. So our numbers speak for themselves. We're really excited about our results and hope that you can join us in the future. Great. So now we're going to really dive into how can you, as you're thinking about reapplying to the program, what are some things you should be thinking about to just strengthen your application, make it a little bit stronger, and maybe some things out here that you haven't even thought of will be helpful for you to look at for this year. So just to start off with some data, because data is super important, we have calculated that about 20% of all of our Activate Fellows have applied more than once before being awarded the fellowship. So it is very common for people to apply more than once. There's so many different reasons why each individual person did, but we're really glad they did because they were successful the second or maybe third time around. So a little bit about our feedback policy, because we get this question all the time, and we totally understand where people want to come from. Of course, we'd love to give everyone feedback, but last year we received over 900 applications to the Activate Fellowship. So again, as much as we'd love to provide feedback to everyone, just the fact of the matter is that we just don't have the staff or the bandwidth to do so. However, for those who reach the interview stage in our selection process, our community teams do often offer their time to provide feedback. If you are a reapplicant and have gotten feedback from the team, we highly encourage you to refine your application based on the information that was provided. That feedback is valuable, and you should be sure to incorporate any suggestions into your next application that were given to you. For those who did not make it to that stage and did not receive any feedback, hopefully this presentation will help you as you prepare your application for this cycle. So let's talk a little bit about reasons why an application may have not made it all the way through. Our selection committees really do identify finalists who they believe will be most benefit, both as individuals and their projects, from our 2-year fellowship experience. So applicants may have been rejected for a number of reasons, but let's start off with looking at what the project, when you're thinking about your project maybe was a little bit too early stage and would benefit maybe from more time in an academic setting, one more year, especially if funding is available. It could have just been needed a little bit more information gathering. It just wasn't quite there yet for our Activate Fellows. It might have already been on the other end, already on a successful path, and therefore would not benefit fully from the learning experience that the fellowship provides. So maybe it just really, you're already on a successful path. There wasn't much to provide for you. And then finally, if you're coming from the life sciences, life sciences is one of our verticals. However, it is a gray area for us. We really are not looking for just technology that's primarily focused on mammalian health and or FDA approval. You really should be thinking about how your technology might benefit additional verticals that we had talked about earlier, if you're in the life sciences. Let's think about the applicant, okay? So maybe last year you didn't meet our basic eligibility requirements. So we do have those on our website, but things like having 4 years, a bachelor's and 4 years of technical experience, if you don't hit that, you weren't going to move forward. Or if you were a second-time founder or a third-time founder, you wouldn't be eligible. We're looking for first-time founders. So just make sure that when you're applying that you are hitting each of our basic eligibility requirements. And then lastly, just perhaps you weren't able to fully participate in the selected community. Maybe you were finishing up a PhD program and you weren't able to leave the university yet. And so therefore we weren't able to move you forward. And then looking at the full application, perhaps the application last year just didn't sufficiently demonstrate that your technology or solution is different from an existing solution that's already out there, right? Maybe it was, but you just weren't able to demonstrate it as well. So think about that as you're looking back at your previous application and making things stronger. Make sure that your application demonstrates that there's a well-framed problem with the potential for significant long-term impact in one or more of those 16 verticals that we mentioned. Perhaps the application wasn't clear and effective in its written form. So make sure that there's no typos. Make sure that you've really outlined and explained in a way that's really clear. And if you made it to an interview stage, same thing with your presentation. Make sure that your presentation is clear. Revisit that and practice that. We have very clear application guidelines through the application. You've all seen it, people who are reapplying. And so perhaps you went over a page limit. Just make sure you didn't do that, but perhaps that was a reason why it could have gotten rejected. So make sure you are definitely following directions, reading things to make sure that everything is right before you submit. And then again, how can you demonstrate how the fellowship writ large would be able to really help you move forward this project. Would you benefit from all the different components? And did you make that clear how you would be able to benefit and what you could bring to the fellowship? All right, so let's talk about mindset a little bit. If you click it again, Ava, there should be, these columns are going to fill out. Great. So obviously, perhaps you know someone who is a science entrepreneur. You should definitely be talking to those folks. Make sure that you're leveraging your support. If you know someone who's been through the program, obviously that gives you a leg up. You can talk to them about your application. They might not be able to read it all for you and do it, like review it, but they might be able to give you some tips and tricks. And then obviously look at, if you're in academia, go to your technology transfer office, entrepreneurial center, things that might have some resources that you can read through and make sure that you, it can help you maybe make your application stronger this time. The next one is your familiarity is an advantage. You've already gone through this process once. You can better anticipate what makes a compelling application or what doesn't. You can, just look at what you've done in the past, pull up your past application, and just see which areas you want to fill in or enhance more based on what we had discussed earlier. And then finally, reapplying just really reaffirms to us that you're committed to the entrepreneurial pathway. So it's a journey. You understand the journey. Sometimes people are going to tell you, no, we're not going to move, we're not going to invest in this. This is just part of the journey. And so continuing to reapply just shows us that you are committed to this. It's really a step forward, not a step back. Okay, so here are some tips on updating your application. So we're going to talk about how you can refine the application, how you can showcase some growth, maybe clarify some impact, maybe strengthen your team, and then realign with our Activate goals. And I'm going to go into a little bit deeper dive on this on the next slide. So what you really want to do is you really want to do a really great job of communicating any of your updates. Although we don't provide any individual feedback, it's really crucial for you to convey updates since your last application. So how is your tech, ask yourself, how has your tech evolved over the past year? And think about, what really should be communicated well to update those in your previous application. You want to really emphasize your improvements. You want to focus on how your project has evolved, highlight any technical advances, research, or any market validation. You want to think about how you can clarify your impact and how you can really clearly articulate the value and impact of your technology, both to the industry, but also to society, right? You want to be really specific about your problem that your innovation addresses and how that's going to really make an impact to the world. Think about your projections and plans. Really discuss your future plans if you're selected as a fellow, including any milestones and expected outcomes that you're thinking about. Take advantage of any techonomics and other resources that we provide, that Activate provides to strengthen your project description. If you go to activate.org/learn, there's a lot of great resources there that can help you figure out, kind of what resources we have that can help you, put together your application. What data is important in this space that maybe you didn't realize was important. And then emphasize how the project aligns with the goals of Activate, right? How can this fellowship accelerate your company's pathway to market? What perspectives can you provide to enhance the fellowship experience with your cohort? So what do you personally also want to get out of the program, and what you can bring to the program? Great. And then really strengthening your team, really looking at your team dynamics to really figure out if there's people you might want to think about adding. If you have more than one employee, if you have a co-founder or advisor noted on the application as the entire team, is there anyone new that you've brought in from last year that you want to note in your application? Just those are people that you could list as your team, not necessarily as a co-founder, but also if you applied as a solo founder last year, do you have a co-founder this year? Do you want to apply with someone else? We take a team up to 2. So be really thoughtful about how that person could really enhance your application. And then just as a reminder on that, if you do apply with a co-founder, only the primary applicant and the primary Activate fellow does receive the financial aspect of it, but both fellows would receive the community and the networking and the mentorship and the educational components as well. Great. So the other idea is that you can pivot with a new idea if that's something you're thinking about. So if we go to the next slide, Ava. Just as a reminder, applicants may apply once per application cycle with one proposed project or company. So you can't apply with your old one and with a new idea. You would have to only choose one project that you want to do. Applicants do not have to continue to submit the same project. So again, you could do a completely new one, or you could do one with that maybe you were working on, but you've pivoted, so slightly different. But you want to apply with basically a similar concept with some changes to it. And then thinking about, again, have you had any recent technological updates that's causing your idea to pivot? Or do you have a whole nother idea that you want to play with instead? That's something you should be thinking about if you're reapplying to the program. Again, if you are kind of beginning from a new beginning, just really communicate what that pivot is. Be really clear about, if it's similar to last year, but different in the industries that you were looking at, or you found different customers, or have different data. You just really want to communicate what that is and how it aligns with what we're looking for, and how necessary that pivot was, and how does it, again, strengthen your overall strategy for entering the market. Really looking at any early stage validation of the new idea from your lab results. Maybe you have a whole new set of data you want to share. That's great. It doesn't have to be the same slide deck. Do the research and the discovery on your market. And again, look at our activate.org learn and conduct some of your own techonomics and get your models figured out and thought about. And then lastly, just address any risks and how you plan to mitigate those in the application. And then what your goals are. Be very clear about what your goals are for the fellowship. What do you want to get out at the end? How do you want to scale up by the end of the fellowship? Okay, so I've been talking for a long time. I'm going to turn it over to some folks who've actually done this before. We have two fellows, really excited to introduce them, who are joining us. Mert Aiken from our Activate Berkeley cohort 2024, and Diana Mojahed from our current class from our Activate Boston are here to explain what their process was when they were reapplying. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves, tell them a little bit about start off by telling about their story, about their companies and their idea, and then we can get into some questions about how they approached reapplying to the program. So why don't we start with Mert?
Thank you, Rick. Thank you for having me here. Eva, Sahar, and Jill. Hi, everyone. My name is Mert Aiken. I'm the founder and CEO of Eli Technology. So I came here today to encourage you to build your dreams, because I wasn't there. And I think regardless of the outcomes, we all appreciate that it is very hard, very difficult journey. So whether you get into Activate or not, what matters most is this journey and your commitment. So I want to share my journey with Activate. It started in Florida. I did my PhD at University of Miami, focusing on electrochemistry. So the idea of Eli was not part of my PhD, but I got interested in mineral recovery with one article, and I thought there could be a better way of doing so. And I developed that technology in the university, and we made the proof of concepts and patent submissions in the university. And I was trying to commercialize that in Florida, but I just quickly realized that might not be the best place. So I moved to Bay Area with the idea of commercializing Eli. So the very first time I applied to Activate, I had a full-time job, and I had a garage. I was building my prototype in the garage, and I remember really still the same. So it was. I had a chance to get into the interview stage, the final presentation, and that was on March 3rd, and Jill was there, and I got my rejection on April 4th. So what I want to say you all is that was hard. It was a tough moment for me. to having a rejection. Um, but I asked myself, I questioned myself, would I keep pursuing if it wasn't through Activates? And the answer was yes. So instead of, pivoting, I doubled down. I That summer I joined the Clean Tech Open. So we worked really hard. I had a co-founder. So I wanted to get a structured education. So I chose to join an accelerator program. And then next year, we did complete our prototype. That was second prototype. And when I able to apply for Activate, I knew that it was much different. So, and in my interview, I could feel the difference. I was more confident, honestly, and I felt that it was felt also. So, and all the people, the viewers, they saw the determination and the persistence that I had through. So, I wanted to say, so it's been a year already in the fellowship. So I think we are here about 190 people who are willing to apply. So my suggestion, and hopefully I'm thinking you should apply and just don't stop if you feel. Obviously it's not a easy journey. I feel you. But I suggest you all move on and move forward and chase your dreams. So that's at least that's something I wanted to share with you. So hopefully I could be I could give you that promise to you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Mart. Diana, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Diana. I'm a Activate Boston 2025. My company is called Lightfinder, and I've been working on what has become Lightfinder since like 2017. So I was first a PhD student at Columbia and then a postdoc at MIT. And the first time I applied to Activate, I had just heard about it. I was a second year postdoc. And someone suggested I should apply. I really didn't look into anything too detailed about it. I spent some time on my application and, I didn't get in, but I think it really wasn't the right time for me to be applying to it because the research was not quite, it didn't quite have the exit velocity to leave MIT. But I think it was a great experience because I knew what the application looked like. I was familiar with the fellowship. And so then the next time I applied, it was, I guess, October 2024. And I finished my postdoc November 2024, and I had an SBIR phase 1 grant to officially leave MIT to start the company. And I was in a much, much better place to talk about the business and, what we were really planning. So I made it the full way through and I got in, and it really was the right time for the business to get the fellowship. So from my perspective, I would say it's a combination of timing, which is when really is it the right time for you to leave, whatever full-time job you have, whether it's an academic institution where you're doing your research or what. But the timing is really important, and I'm pretty sure that it comes through pretty clearly in the application, because one part of the application is touching on your techno-economics, and you have to know enough about your space to comment meaningfully on what the economics of your solution will be like. And the further you get along in the interviews, the more experts they bring in who will grill you. So in my final interview, there was a little over 30 people in the room, and they were all trying to ask me questions. So I think, but I had already been full-time in my business for 6 months. So like I was living and breathing the business. I was no longer a postdoc. So I could really articulate well to them, and I think it came across well. I think the other thing was that the idea was really fleshed out, not just that the business was running, but and I could really articulate the techno-economics, but the vision was clearer to me. And I think that's a really big thing is Activate doesn't want to fund an incremental, solution. Activate is looking to fund scientists who are on a mission. And the implications of being a scientist on a mission are that you really have a big vision for how you want to contribute to the world. So I think that comes through, and hopefully, the more you think about your business, the more you really start to feel what your vision is. And if it's something Activate will be interested in, they'll latch onto it and bring you in.
That's great. Thanks, Diana. So maybe I'll start with a couple questions and then we'll open it up to the audience. But if maybe Mert and Diana, if you all want to talk about what you wish you had known, when you were preparing your reapplication, is there any things you wish you had known that you want to share with this audience?
The big things that I don't know if it's something I wish I knew, but I think it's something that maybe I'm glad was the case, was I didn't really spend too much time looking into like who else had they funded, like I think a lot of people when they apply for things, they go into kind of like the numbers part of it, like how likely are you gonna get into it. I think I would just recommend to as authentically as you can articulate your vision and not have it necessarily be influenced by what you see, the fellowship funding or those sorts of things. I think that helps because it'll come through very genuinely what you'd like to do.
I love that advice. Thank you, Diana.
I would second on Diana. The one thing it was really helpful for me after my first application was I was living in the Bay Area, so I had a chance to really talk with the other fellows in the community. As Diana very well put it together, so we all been working this really orthogonal, different, high impact ideas. So we may not know in the beginning how the journey would look like. So talking with these people, the fellows who are actually on the similar mission like you, was really helpful for me to really identify the paths, because it's all gonna be step by step. So at least you would gain some, understanding around what would be the next move would be, the facility that you would be thinking of, or the grant applications, or your maybe fundraising cycle, how that would be look like. So I would suggest pretty much all applicants here to talk with these other fellows within the community. I think that's one of the greatest thing I've done, and that definitely suggest that.
Great. And my final question, and we'll open it up to the audience, is were there any resources or recruitment events that Activate did maybe that really helped you, think about ways to better prepare or like use as a resource to just, make your application better the second time around?
Yeah, I can jump in that really quickly, because the techno economics videos, I think Activate has great resources on the website. Just I suggest everyone utilizing as much as they can. I think those were really helpful for me.
I think we're understanding very clearly what they're looking for at any stage of the application. So I think once you get to the two final interviews, with only two interviews, it really was a matter, from my perspective, of understanding what they wanted me to present on. And the timing at that point is very, very short. I think in the first interview, I had 2 slides or something like that. So you have to be extremely efficient, understand where are they going to poke, and be prepared to answer that. I think you have to so as far as resource go, it's exactly what they say they want. Like, go to the webinars where, they're preparing the applicants for the first interview and the second interview, and just listen very carefully to what they're expecting. Because it's such a short amount of time, you really don't want to miss anything.
Wonderful thing. So you all must have some burning questions. So how this is going to work, I know there were questions in the chat. Hopefully it looks like my colleagues are amazingly answering them quickly. I love that. Thank you for your help with that. And also, I don't know if anyone wants to call any out that they couldn't answer, or if anyone wants to raise their hand, I can call on you in order of the way that you raise your hand. And we will you can ask your question directly to either myself or to our fellows. Great, Mahmoud, go ahead. Oop, I think you're on mute.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm sorry, just like a little bit of a technical problem.
No
So,
worries.
at what stages were your projects at when you made the application and during the final interview? And actually, what kinds of projects are you interested in?
I'm sorry, was that a question for the first one was for, were you asking the fellows what stage they were at?
Yeah, I think it's half and half, like one for, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, Mert and Diana, do you want to talk about what stage your projects were at when you, I guess, made it to the interview stages?
Yeah, I can answer that. So the first time I applied, I had the proof of concept. I had the early demonstrations, the small prototype that we were able to achieve the results. But in terms of that was all in the lab. In terms of the product development, actual expectation from the customers, there is still a big gap. And my whole year to really develop and scale that proof proof of concept to a bit more scaled product. So I was more confident when I applied the second time. So yeah, I would say I had 2 prototypes already when we got selected to activate fellowship.
Congratulations.
In my case, when I was in my final interview, I had been working on full-time at my company for 6 months. We had a couple of prototypes. And we were on we still are entirely grant funded.
Great. And Jill, do you want to just kind of mention what the selection committees typically look for in the, like what stages we typically look for Activate?
Yeah, I say all stages of early. So we do take things that are just concepts, but we're really looking at like impact potential of those because there's more risk. So like, what is the impact to go with that risk? But really, like, yeah, you don't have to have a prototype. It's nice if you do, but you don't have to. Like, we're looking, have you taken this tech as far as you can, like with the resources that you've got, kind of thing. Yeah, it's not like a narrow window, but that's the beauty of Activate, is that we are flexible.
Thanks, Jill. Great, Bo, over to you.
Hi. So we have a technology that can be applied to a number of different verticals, but one of our kind of more promising go-to-market strategies is in making animal agriculture more sustainable. And I was wondering, sometimes investors and grant agencies don't want to fund companies that work in animal agriculture. I was wondering if Activate has that stipulation, or if it's fine, or if we should look at another vertical for our technology.
Sorry, I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Animal ag, fine. Yeah. We've supported companies in the past in that space. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Go for it.
Go forward. Perfect. Thank you. Guillermo?
Hi, thank you so much for the Q&A. So we applied to Activate last year to several different leaps, and our story has changed a little bit. So we have this optic technology to better identify metals for e-waste and scrap metal waste. We've since been expanding it into the manufacturing space, but it kind of has changed how our go-to-market is and what the quantification of the impact is. I was wondering if you guys have any recommendations on how the story should change. Like, do we still focus on sort of the original story that made us sort of marketable, I guess, because of the impact, or like what should the new focus be? More on the technology, more on the change, more still on the impact?
I would say let us know what you've learned, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, we love to see progress, especially for reapplicants. If the market has gotten smaller, that's fine. But if it's a more realistic estimate, that's great, you know? So yeah, just let us know what you've learned.
Got it.
Great. Ishan?
Hi, yeah, thank you very much, Activate and the fellows, for this really useful session. I think this question has been asked in some form already, but Dan, I think you specifically used the word like the exit velocity of the technology coming out of academia. I'm wondering if both of the fellows could talk a bit more about the sort of critical updates to their application and technology that they felt like really had maybe the biggest marginal impact on the exit velocity, whether it was technical advancements or if that was coupled with customer discovery or maybe a revelation in techno-economic analysis. Yeah, thank you.
That's a great question. I think technical is definitely a foundation, so you have to have some kind of result to say this is going to work for it to be a company. Secondarily, customer discovery is huge. So the grant I was funded on at MIT was an NSF PFI award, which required me to participate in the I-Corps program. So by the time I applied to Activate, I had done over 150 customer discovery interviews, which I think is key. Personally, I wouldn't fund anyone starting a business who's not doing really significant sort of mind-numbing numbers of customer discovery, because of how valuable it is and how quickly it'll decide if your business is really going to work or is it, you know, just not. So I would say you're better, you know, you need your technology to work. It has to have value that, you know, is not something that big company could just replicate in 2 days. But you also really have to have a formed idea of the business, and customer discovery is the way to do that. And then when you get interviewed, particularly in your final round interview, I think you'll be able to articulate most the value when you've met the potential customers and your competitors.
Yeah, thank you.
Should I jump in? So I think Diana really put it really great. So since we are working on deep tech, hard tech companies, so it's definitely technology development is the #1 priority for everyone. But essentially, the both business development and tech development needs to go hands in hand. I really want to emphasize also the importance of the the customer discoveries as well, because you can learn really all these like new knowledges regarding your design requirements of your MVP, and that piece of knowledge would be really critical for you to improve your product on the tech side. So I think both are really important. So it's hard to prioritize one of them, but I would suggest working on that. When it comes to interview, I think the viewers also would like you to see that how much you know about your value chain and the industry that you're working on. So that's also one good aspect that you should be focusing on understanding. And customer discovery is one good way of understanding these value chain within the market.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both. I might butcher this name, but is it Maame?
Yeah, Mami.
Okay, go for it.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. So I have a question. My question is about the life science project. So what kind of life science technology does Activate accept? Is it like diagnostic or therapeutic? And for example, if the technology has to be used in animals, then potentially going to humans, or maybe technology has to be just placed on humans, not necessarily going into humans. Sorry, thank you.
I can try to answer the life sciences
Okay.
question. So I am a biologist. I'm a biochemist by training. So my faith. Yeah. So if your technology product, like if the direction you are going in is like a traditional FDA regulatory pathway, you are probably out of scope for us. And the reason for that is that we don't have the network to really support you. And we want to support our fellows as much as we possibly can. And so think about if that's what you need to do to get your product to market, then you may be out of scope. But lots of times there are technologies that have other applications. If you still want to apply with that, please do that. Because oftentimes, part of the fellowship is like you are figuring out the market and pivots, and you might pivot into something else or whatever. And so if you're really early stage and you don't know where you're going, and you can apply your tech to many different areas, then you probably are eligible. Just don't try to if you really want to do human health, and don't say you're going to do something else just to be eligible for the fellowship, because we will figure that out along the selection process. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. Life sciences is definitely, like I said earlier, a gray area for us. If you look at our FAQs, if you go to activate.org/FAQ, we have a whole FAQ about this, but what's included in that FAQ is other programs that might be more aligned with what you're trying to do, because we do want you to be successful. So it just might be a better fit with one of those other programs. So please look at those programs and see if maybe that is a better path for you to get your technology off the ground. Great. Daniel.
Hi, thanks. I have a question that feels a bit like a numbers game, but it isn't. I'm in Berkeley, which is very dense in the AI and ML space. I'm working on a project that's AI focused and ML focused for sustainable materials. It seems to me that I could apply either to anywhere or Berkeley, and depending upon the vertical supported and the ratios of applicants to successful applicants on the specific vertical, there may be an advantage to apply to anywhere versus Berkeley. Is that a misunderstanding, or am I strictly in the Berkeley space?
I can either Rick or I could answer that, but if you are already in Berkeley, you are not eligible for anywhere. Yeah. If you're within 70 miles of our in-residence community, then you're not eligible for anywhere.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Daniel, we're also a bit biased on that, so.
I'll reach out to you.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. And thanks, Joe. Valerie?
Hi, yeah. My question relates to trying to get an understanding and feeling for the time commitment for the programming that you offer. I did put that in the chat, but I didn't see an answer to it. So if you answered it in the chat, I apologize for asking it live, but I just really want to understand what kind of time commitment in the programming.
Yeah, I can answer that. And I may have, sorry if I'm not, I got tired about answering things in the chat. So.
No, there's a lot in there. I got
There's a lot in there, so I
scroll back
apologize
up.
to all of you. I tried as hard as I could. The time commitment. Yeah, so we know that you are building your company and we want you to build your company while you are in the fellowship. So we are, our requirements in terms of time are as light as we can make them. And they vary per community, you know, like by community to some extent, especially like the in residence versus like the anywhere community. And so maybe I'll just ask, are you looking at an in residence or an anywhere community?
Activate anywhere. I'm
Okay.
actually based
So
in
I'm-
Hawaii and need access to seawater, so I have to
Oh,
be here.
awesome. So I'm going to pass it over to Sahar to answer that then.
Hi, my name is Sahar. I'm the Activate Anywhere Fellowship Manager, so very well poised to answer this question. So as Joel was saying, it varies a little bit in residence versus anywhere. For anywhere specifically, we ask you to join programming bi-weekly on Thursdays for about 2 hours. And so that's like a virtual Zoom call in which we do programming to help support you education-wise, etc. We do have some courses that we run virtually on a national level for all communities. So at the start of your fellowship, there will be a lot more education resources that will take some of your time. So that's a couple of hours each week. And then for anywhere specifically, we have quarterly in-person trips. So we ask that you fly to one of our in-residence communities where we're set up other programming, cohort kind of collaboration, and we'll have some activities, things like that for that cross-cohort cross-pollination with the current cohorts in that community as well. And so every quarter we'll have those trips on top of our virtual programming. And so those are kind of the two pieces you can expect.
And are those 1 week or 2 week on-site visits?
Those are about 3 days.
3 days. Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Mehdi?
Hey, good morning, folks. I think we heard stories of winners. It's not bad idea to hear the story of losers here. I have applied to this program 2 times, and I hope, and I'm afraid to apply for the 3rd time, which I will not probably. But it would be great if the folks managing this program come up with a solution to provide the applicants with some sort of feedbacks. And the reason for that is our times are valuable, ours and yours. So we put a lot of time and we ask for a lot of support from partners, regulatory bodies, policymakers, and those type of things to provide us with the letter or those type of things. And I think it's not fair to applicants to receive only an email of you guys haven't been selected and go find what mistake you have done. It's like dealing with the kids that did something wrong and you tell that kids that, hey, go to your room and think about what bad have you done. I mean that at least in order to help the folks to understand what issues that they have and what they should need to work for the next round of this type of applications, it would be great to provide them with some feedbacks. And to be honest, we don't know still what we should have worked on it, as we already received funding from California Energy Commission EPIC program. We passed through the Clean Tech Open programs, and we have been part of many incubations like Lacey in Los Angeles and those type of things. But I would call it Activate a black box, I would say, opportunity that I personally went into it dumb and I exited that process dumb as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. Yeah, I think I started with our feedback policy earlier in the presentation, just that we have 900, more than 900 applicants. and we just don't have the resources, unfortunately, to give feedback to everybody. But I will definitely take that I'll take your notes and your comments, and I appreciate your honesty on that, and I'll see, what changes we can make in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great, Rasha. We probably have time for only like 1 or 2 more questions, everyone, unfortunately. So if we didn't get to your question and you have a burning question, please email us at apply@activate.org. But why don't we do Rasha and then Nimi, if you guys can be quick. Perfect.
Sorry, did you say my name, Rasha?
Rasha, yes, go ahead.
Okay, hi. I applied last year, and I think the feedback I got primarily that I'm focused on life sciences. That was the main weakness I got through the first interview round. I guess hearing what I've heard today, I think one of the mistakes I've done that I didn't clearly say that I'm not on the FDA track. Our first box is not even there. But I wanted to ask a question a bit more different as well, whether it's better that I clarify this or I'm an engineer, it's genome editing, it's a platform. Life science is great, it's just because I'm surrounded by them, but I would love to try plant genome editing, biofuels. My worry writing this in an application without primarily data would disadvantage me. So I use usually the first pivot that I started in research at uni. But I don't know if that's a clever strategy given Activate, but we definitely, even from our patent stage, we are writing all these applications. I'm not doing it for Activate, but the funding I have now is for life sciences. So the data I have in life, so it's a long story. What would you recommend in a situation like this, which is a bit tricky?
Yeah, I mean, coming from the life sciences space, like you work on the thing that you get funded for, at the university. And so I totally get it. If your data's in mammalian cells, but you don't want to work there, just let us know. Yeah, and just explicitly tell us that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. And Nimi, why don't you close us out?
Yes, thank you. Honored. I'll make it quick. So we are also a platform company. It's a novel biomanufacturing technology with different applications. Last year, I think we went into one zone to do some techno-economic analysis that this is what we will produce as product one. And I think given the scope of that industry, my best guess is that's why we didn't get in, because that industry itself doesn't seem to be doing too well. So if you could comment a little bit on the weightage of platform versus product that Activate puts on when they evaluate applications, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, it's a hard one to answer. I would say that just balance it. Like, let us, tell us what you've done in that first product, but also tell us that you have room to pivot. It's often a question that we ask during selection is like, where's the pivot here? And it's better if you spell that out for us than we're trying to figure out what the pivot might be. Yeah.
But would you consider, would it be better to then have a more broader application on the platform itself rather than focusing on the product so that it's apparent?
I would say tell us both. Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Thank you all for your questions. I know people are dropping off. I want to thank our panelists, our fellows. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill and Sahar, for joining us as well and answering great questions. If your question didn't get answered, please reach out to us at apply@activate.org. Applications are opening on September 9th and close on October 28th. So please make sure you have all the information you need to reapply to the program. We're looking forward to seeing your application again this year. Have a great day, everyone.